Alright, so just a few notes on the cylinder head here. You know, I thought I'd be able to, per our plan, torque down the rods and make the adjustments here pretty easily, and it was easy, I have to say. I went through, I did everything the way it should have been done, but also what I did was this. Once I had everything down to specifications, I actually turned the flywheel several times, and just to get it moving and let things sort of organize themselves. And then I went back to top dead center, which now I can figure out. You can tell based on how the valves are going down where top dead center is, and plus I know where the top dead center pin is on the flywheel. But and then I went through and I actually adjusted these again, and I found I did need to make some minor adjustments to them. Maybe just because the valves, the cylinder head was just done, so that the valves and the rods and the springs, everything has to find their comfort zone. So turning it several times I think really helped, and then I was able to go back, check each one, make minor adjustments using the feeler gauge, and I think I'm in a pretty good spot now. So I'd recommend you do that. I just found there was some value. It did change things a little bit. I'm not sure why. I just told you why. I think that's why. That everything just has to find its comfort zone. So I turned the flywheel a bunch of times there. So the other thing is I'm working on the injectors. I got the new injectors in here. Obviously you don't want to put your injectors in until you're done turning the flywheel, because then you have compression and it's hard to turn the flywheel. So you want to keep the injectors out until that time. But I just got them in here. You can see they're still a little loose. I got the screw on here. Now what I wanted to show you with regard to the injectors, I mean they go in pretty easy, and you just work them back and forth, and they go in. But I bought new injectors, and on the new injectors, this connecting nut that'll connect to the fuel line wasn't on here. So I had to take this top stuff apart here. And what I did was, in order to get this off, the original one, I had to take the nut off, and there's another nut under here I had to get off. And then I had to put this on with the washer on it. But one thing I wanted to point out was, I thought I was, after reading the book, I thought I screwed up the adjustment for the injector, and I didn't. And let me show you here. If you just take off, here's one that's, hold on a second. Yeah, so here's one that is the old one, okay? This guy is usually down. Let me put this back in its original position here. Alright, so it's originally like that. And if you take off this top nut to start with, this guy here, I had to take that one off. And sometimes the center stem, which is called, oh shit, I don't know, I'm not going to say, but the center stem comes out with it. It's a nut, and the stem's just coming out with it, but they separate. So I took that out of there, and then there's another. I still couldn't get that nut off of here, so I had to take this other one off. And it was all on here pretty tight. I had to take this one off. So if I take that one off, see this guy here, now you're just left with this. And so I thought, shit, I might have screwed up the adjustment for the fuel injector. So I went to the book, and basically what they said was the adjustment for the injector is actually this screw right here. I would actually have to turn that to specifications, put it on a pressure tester and things like that. So as long as I don't touch that, I'm in good shape. So I was able to put everything back on and not be too concerned. So that's what I read in the book, and I figured I'd share that with you. So moving on, now I got the new injectors in, I got to torque them down. And what I will show you is that in here, because I don't want you to think that I'm lying, not that I would ever lie, right here is is where an injector goes, and that's the bolt number C for torque. Bolt number C is the cap screw, and if I go to the cap screw nozzle to cylinder head cap screw torque, 27 pound-feet. Alright, so I just have to torque those down to 27 pound-feet. I'm going to do that and get the fuel lines on. Yeah, so I'm getting the fuel lines. The fuel lines are all on. These are fuel lines. They go up. I got them tied in. And look at this. I got my fuel injector lines that come up, you know, connect down here, comes up, comes around, and then, you know, I have a piece of paper towel here just because the injector's there. I need one of these guys. This one was pretty well stripped through, and so I'm just going to get a new one. But I wanted you to know I put new seals on here too. I picked those up, and I think it's a good idea to replace those seals. But the T here is aluminum, and it strips pretty easy. I bet you these things have been on and off a lot of times throughout the course of this tractor's life. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 1, 2, and 3 and just replace them. Even though I think these are okay, but you know, down there they're probably $5 a piece. Why not just replace them since I'm here? It's easy. I have all the room in the world to get it done now. So why not just replace the seals, get all the seals, and get new T's, aluminum T's. So that's what I'm going to do. So I just wanted to let you know I got that done. What else am I working on? I'm going in reverse here. So over here I told you I got this bracket on. That's pretty easy. Got the positive lead back on there. And here's the fuel pump. I'm sorry, the fuel filter. I got the hose back on it. And there's this fuel line here that goes on, so I got that bolted back on. I cleaned it up with brake fluid. It came pretty nice, nicely clean, so got that on. I'm going to keep moving here, and my next order of business is, let's see, remove, I'm going in the same order, so let's see, did that one. Now the next one is remove oil cooler, piping, and water pump. So I'm going to put that back. Alright guys, making progress here. Got the water pump on as I promised. I also had to put this is the thermostat housing. This is where the upper radiator pipe goes, and put this connection on. So put a new gasket on here as well. New thermostat inside. Just bolted this on 2 bolts. Piece of cake. And then this pipe comes over and connects to the upper side of the water pump. Got that screwed on there pretty well. New water pump, I told you, as promised. Torque bolts down to, I think it's 35 pound-feet for those. So reconnected this hose down here that came across from the other side, which tied into the air cooler here. That's all done. I did clean up the front of the motor. I took the time to use some brake fluid, get all the crap out of here. This was all pretty nasty. So I got everything looking pretty good. So I got that thermostat housing on, got the water pump on, and right now I'm gonna put the valve cover on, and might have to pull it back off. I'm just gonna tighten it down slightly, but I have valve cover. I did clean it up with brake fluid. That's looking pretty good, you know. Some of the paint's worn off, but that's okay. So I'm working on this right now. This gasket, it's not a full gasket. It's like a piece of rubber, piece of rounded rubber that runs around and goes in this groove here all the way around. You can see I'm working on it now. In order to get it to stay, I've been putting a little dab of grease at the corners where things are turning. Put a dab of grease there, just to hold it in place, because it falls right out. and I want to make sure it's in. So every corner I put a dab of grease in there. The instructions basically say, you know, installing the rocker arm cover, it just says don't use sealant initially. Torque is 7 pound-feet. These things aren't really that tight at the end of the day. And it goes on to say here, if you have a leak, remove it, clean the cover with acetone and compressed air. I did clean this up quite a bit. There was stuff on here. I just used a razor blade and went around, cleaned out the groove. I actually used a screwdriver, took my time, cleaned out the groove, and cleaned off the edges. You know, you want that nice and clean. Since you're gonna, you want it to not leak. And so I got this new. This isn't the existing one. I bought a new gasket here too as well. It was just a couple bucks. But they do say, you know, install a new sealing ring with grease in cover groove. That's if it was leaking, but I can't get the damn thing to stay. So I'm going to use grease on the corners here and then install that. So after that I'm going to come over here, and my next thing would be I'm going to put the exhaust pipe back on. So that's the next step. All right, making tracks here, just moving right along. Got the fan back on right here with this piece. This piece goes over it. I just cleaned everything up a little bit. Got the thermostat housing on, unit on, reconnected it. I think I told you that before. Make sure you put a new thermostat in always. Put a gasket on there. There's a gasket I got too. You always want to put a new thermostat in. They're a couple bucks and they stick from time to time. Why not just put a new one in? That way you don't have to tear the top of this thing apart to get to it. The other thing is when you install the thermostat, there's called a jiggle pin in the thermostat. It's like a little screw. It looks like it's loose, and the reason that's there is for aeration. So let me show you in the book. Never knew what the jiggle pin was for, but I know now. In here, there's called a jiggle pin, and it sticks through. This isn't a great representation of it, but that's it right there. It kind of sticks through and it shakes. It's like a pin that looks like it's loose and it shouldn't be there. But what they're saying is that's that's how you get the air out of the motor. Turn this down for a second. So you want to install it so it's on the top side. So when air is stuck, you know, in the motor, it can go out through that little aeration pin there. So it says de-aeration is normally accomplished by the jiggle pin A in the thermostat flange area. However, a pocket of air can stay in the top of the engine. So they're talking about here when refilling the cooling system the first time, loosen the coolant temperature sensor or plug at the rear end of the cylinder head, B. Okay, I didn't know what that was before, but that's a temperature sensor. So when I fill up, I've already, you know, it's let's see, it's back in here, this guy. I can back that off, loosen it up, and apparently that's going to let a lot of the air out when I fill up the coolant for the first time. So I can take care of that. What else here? Got the pipe that goes to the turbocharger and exhaust. I got that on, cleaned it all up. In here is a heating element, and I reattached the wire for it. There's a heating element in here. Actually, this tractor has two heating elements, but one is in here. This basically heats the air that's going into the engine when it's cold outside, and it helps it start. So that's here, and I have that in here. I just cleaned it up. Again, cleaned up the round gasket that's underneath here, and bolted this baby down. So that's all good. And the last thing I'll mention to you is over here. I got the blow-off valve hose on here, and I ran that down the back. Goes down to the bottom. That's hopefully we don't have any more blow-off after we've done all this work to this motor. So I got that done. The other heater here is the block heater, and it's hard to see, but right inside this unit here, there's an element that's inside. Okay, so you can actually turn on and heat up the block in the wintertime. And here's the plug for it, and it just goes right into this guy and heats up the block. So there are two heaters on this motor. I'm hoping that with a renewed compression on this and the rehab we've done, this tractor is going to start up fairly easily, but there are two heaters in this unit. Okay, so I'm at a point now where I got the alternator back on. I put a new belt on. I wanted to put a new belt since I'm here. It's only 15 or 20 bucks. Fan belt, put the fan back on. You should mark which way is out. Like you can see right here, I put out on here just because you don't want to install this thing backwards. I guess you'd find out when you try to put the radiator on, but still it's nice to just mark it so you know. I cleaned up the area where the radiator is going to go to, and one thing I want to let you know, like there are two grounds on this tractor. One is for the battery here, and I checked the battery connector and I'm like, holy crap, that thing's loose. So I'm going to try and get a new connector to put on here, or I'll just get this replaced, the whole thing. There's another one over on the other side. You can see here there's another ground for the wiring system over here. And what I did was I pulled these off. I pulled them off and I sanded down to bare metal again. Got all the crap out of here. There was grease and oil and rust, and I did the same on that one too. I think it's a good idea because I think they sit under the radiator. Once you have the radiator on, the radiator sits in this gap here, so you're not going to be able to get to it. So that's what I figured I'd do, just to make sure the ground is really good, and you don't have wiring problems in the future. So that's one thing I did. I was supposed to put the exhaust manifold on in my instructions, and I'm getting pretty close to being finished, so I held off on that because I guess I'm being a little anal, but the old bolts are rusted to hell. I mean, they'd work. I think they'd work, but you know what? I got 6 bolts to get. What I'd like to do is get stainless steel. That way they're never going to corrode like this again. So I got to pick those up. I'll go to Lowe's and see if I can match this up. I did try to match it up. This is a stainless steel bolt here, and it's just a little off. So I'll, and then of course I got new gaskets to put on here too. These are sort of like a metal gaskets. They're kind of nice actually, so they'll go on there. I'm gonna hold off on that for a little bit. But I cleaned it up. I got the old gaskets off. And I sanded these down just to get all the rust and crap off of them. So that's ready to go. Just need the bolts to put that on. And a turbocharger is the one thing I'm getting aftermarket. It's in the mail now. Actually got it on Amazon. I typed in I was able to get the information, get the get the John Deere number for that turbocharger. John Deere wanted $1,300 for the turbocharger, and I just wasn't going to do that. I figured turbocharger is accessible from the top of the motor. I mean, it sits up in here. And I figured if I ever have a problem with it, I could pull it off pretty easily and send it back or get a new one. But John Deere wanted $1,300. I was able to get it on the aftermarket for about $400. So I thought that was just well worth it to give it a shot. It's not like I have to tear the whole motor apart to get to it. And then finally, I'm working on getting the radiator on. This is the front of the radiator and the back of the radiator. I got a pressure washer over there, and I pressure wash this thing off on the outside, getting the gook out of here, along here. There was shit just stuck to the radiator on both sides. I got that all cleaned off, and then I took the hose, and I obviously, since I have everything apart, I ran water through here. I actually turned it upside down and ran water through there and shook it, turned it flat. I actually turned it down that way, flat, and I filled it up, and then I shook it around, and drained it both ways. You should have seen the shit that come out of there, but at least I know the flow is good in the radiator. When I put water in the top of that, it comes out the bottom pretty quick. So there's pretty good flow. I don't think the radiator's in bad condition. But I did my best to clean out the inside and the outside. So now I'm at a point where I'm going to put these. I got new hoses. I figured 20 bucks for a hose. I got the upper and lower hose. This one is, I guess that's the number on it there, SU47996. and that's for let's see, that's for the lower hose, and then this one, you know, this one's going to be for the upper hose, and this guy is SU47997. So if I just, oh, hold on a second here, I'm going to take this out of the bag. Come on, baby, you can do it. There we go. That's a brandy new one right there. So I think that would go, oh crap-ola, let's see here. Yeah, oh. How's that thing go? Probably goes, oh shit. Goes one way or the other, that's for sure. Probably go on like, either way, it's gonna fit. I got the right ones, if not, I'll take it back. So I'm gonna fill this up. It's August here. I'm gonna put water in this whole coolant system and in the tractor, and when I get it going, I'm gonna let it run, you know, for a couple hours here and there and drain it. I'm gonna try and drain it 3-4 times before I have to put antifreeze in it. Why not? Just try and keep flushing it. I'll put maybe a flushing product in there with the water. How you drain it is there's a drain at the bottom here. How you drain that out, just crack that cockpit open, and guess what? You're ready to go. So I'm gonna get this on, and we'll see what